everyone, and welcome to the July board meeting. It is July 15th, and let's start our board meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to
to the
the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Our next item of business is the agenda review and approval. I will open the floor for a motion.
So moved by Kohler.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion, a second. Any discussion about today's agenda? Okay. Did we, Chris, I thought there was maybe we needed to amend the agenda for the issue you emailed about yesterday.
Yeah, so the real estate matter, actually, we've already got that on the agenda, and that covers that resolution
Okay.
discussion. And so, yeah, there likely be action coming out of that, but I think we're good on the agenda side.
Great. Okay, our next item is the safety moment. Is that
We have
Jerry?
to vote.
Oh, okay.
We have
Thank you.
to vote.
All in favor of the agenda, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Let's now go to the safety moment. Jerry?
Good morning, everybody. I am extremely happy to inform everyone that we have prevented 5 ignitions with our PSPN plan. So thankfully, we're getting some moisture now. It's still super dry out there, but any little bit helps. That being said, we've been lucky. The rest of our state, our neighboring states, not so much. Our safety moment for today is in times of wildfire, are you ready if you get an evacuation notice? A lot of people are not. You need to know that you are prepared because wildfires can spread rapidly and without very, very little notice at all. Do you have your ID and important documents together? Your medications, a phone charger, cash on hand. It's always a good thing to have. Water and snacks, things for your kids. If you haven't pre-packed some type of go kit, or if you don't have a list together to know exactly what to grab, you should get that together. Do you have pets? Do you have a plan for your pets? Do you know what you're going to do with your horses or your dogs? You should have a backup plan for them as well. My granddad, he used to tell me it's just as easy to keep the top half of your fuel tank full as it is the bottom half. Also a good thing to do. Make sure that you have enough fuel in your car, that it's charged up enough in times of evacuation or wildfire. If time allows, close all your windows, close all your doors. Try to remove flammable items like curtains from the windows. Shut off your gas if you have gas to the house. And it's always good for insurance purposes to have a photo or a video of your house if time allows. This is all if time allows. One of the most important things, use the route designated by the authorities for evacuation. If you try and take a normal route that could potentially be in danger of the wildfire, you could find yourself in a lot of trouble. So use the route that the authorities designate. It might be out of the way, out of the norm, but use the route that they designate. And then don't go back. Don't go back until they tell you it's safe to do so. I know that our counties do a really good job of making sure that people aren't going in and, possible looting, that kind of thing. They have rapid tags. They have good lists of who is supposed to be in there, but don't try and go in until they give the all clear. And probably the most important part of evacuations, if you get a notice to evacuate, do so. because all of these things are replaceable, but your life is not. And that's the safety moment for today.
Okay, very timely safety moment. Thanks to the crews for all they did. A lot of extra hours this past month with our wildfire settings, but just in case people didn't hear that at the beginning, that were very effective on what could have potentially been catastrophic. So our next item of business is the board safety moment. Kirsten? Excuse me, board education moment.
I knew what you meant. Okay, so today it's about us being a regulatory body. So in a rural electric co-op, the board of directors is not just a ceremonial body. We are the regulators of a member-owned monopoly utility, which means we are our own public utility commission. So I think sometimes that's important to remind ourselves of that. So our job is to protect the interests of all members as a group and to act as fiduciaries over a business that manages hundreds of millions of dollars in assets. That means some responsibilities we cannot delegate. We hire and oversee the CEO. We set policies and approve budgets and rates, and we monitor risk. So from reliability and safety to financial health and compliance. Every time we vote, we are deciding how today's choices will affect members' bills, service quality, and the co-op's ability to meet future challenges like storms, wildfires, and our energy transition. So to do this well, and you know my speech on this, we have to keep learning. We need strong governance skills so we stay in the lane of oversight, not micromanagement. We need enough understanding of the electric business and our finances to ask hard questions and recognize trade-offs. And we need communication skills and equity mindset. So we listen carefully to members and explain our decisions in ways that build trust. So when we take that role seriously, when we embrace being regulators on behalf of our communities, then our co-op can stay reliable, affordable, and accountable to the people who own it and depend on it. And that's my bit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kirsten. Let's go now to public comment. Graham, if you want to go ahead and give that introduction.
Thank you, Nicole. The board encourages comments about the cooperative from its members. The board will take all member comments under consideration, but it will not necessarily provide a response during the member comment period. The board asks each participant's comments pertain to cooperative business. Those wanting to address the board during the public comment period are granted 5 minutes to address their topics. There is a timer visible on the screen to track your time. Lengthy comments to the board should be submitted in writing. Formal complaints must be filed in writing and submitted in compliance with applicable board policy. Comments from the public will be directed to the entire board, not to any individual. No personal attacks shall be allowed. Failure to follow these requirements may cause the public comment period to be terminated. Copies of our cooperative policies and procedures on public comment and filing complaints are available on the cooperative website.
Okay, I am unable to see right now because I'm on my phone. So Graham, if you could call on people, that would be great.
Right now, I don't see any hands. Oh, we have Susan Atkinson.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Atkinson.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. One director asked me why the issue of question and answers is so important at your monthly meetings. And it gets to the heart of why I'm here. This isn't simply about one question or one meeting. It's about having a consistent process that strengthens the accountability and trust that Kirsten was just talking about between members and the elected board. I believe the central question is what best serves the members? Is it a comment-only process, or is it one that has both comments and questions that receive public answers? I understand the board's concerns, keeping meetings on schedule, avoiding unnecessary debate, protecting confidential and legal matters, ensuring accurate responses, preserving the board's one voice policy, and treating members fairly are all legitimate governance responsibilities. I don't believe that those concerns are at all incompatible with providing public answers to members' questions. The ability of the members to ask questions and receive public answers is an important part of the relationship between members and their elected directors. It helps members understand how their representatives are carrying out their responsibilities and strengthens transparency and accountability. My experience has been that some questions are answered publicly while others are not. Several directors have acknowledged that questions are sometimes answered during meetings, even though the official format is comment only. That creates an inconsistent process that depends on circumstance rather than clear policy. The board has encouraged members to submit questions by email, and I appreciate that option. However, email exchanges are private and include confidentiality notices. Other members cannot see the questions, the answers, or whether similar concerns have been addressed. Public questions with public answers provide the transparency that private correspondence cannot. And by the way, I'm referring only to questions to the elected board members, not to the CEO, the staff, or the legal counsel. I don't believe that we're debating every question deserves an immediate answer. I believe we're examining whether every member deserves a consistent public response. I'd like to suggest a compromise. Allow both comments and board questions from the members during the comment period during the already existing time limits. Questions requiring research could be answered publicly at the beginning of the following board meeting. This approach keeps meetings on schedule, allows thoughtful and accurate responses, preserves the board's one voice policy, avoids confidential matters, and ensures every member benefits from the answer, not just the person who asked the question. It also creates a public record that strengthens transparency, accountability, and trust. So I respectfully ask the board to consider this question. What best serves the members? Does a comment-only process best serve the membership, or does a process that allows both for comments and questions and public answers? If the board concludes that public answers better serve the membership rather than private and confidential ones, I ask that you begin discussing revision to policy 126 to establish a consistent public process for board questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Atkinson. Graham, do you see any other hands?
Sorry, I missed my mic button. Next we have Brian Rogers.
Okay, Mr. Rogers, floor is yours.
Me now?
Yep, loud and clear.
Awesome, thanks. So many microphones. Thank you. My name is Brian Rogers. I'm a member in District 3. I want to reiterate my comment from last time, thanking you for creating a clear strategic goal for greenhouse gas emissions by more than 80% from our 2005 levels by 2030. I think this was communicated clearly, and the effort that y'all put in to that strategic plan is really appreciated. I think it's an ambitious and important commitment, but is necessary during our times. And I appreciate LPEA's willingness to be transparent about its goals and decision-making. I think that I would be interested to know more about LPEA's tracking process towards those goals and its emissions. I think I should follow up with my district board members to get more information on that and point me to the staff. But curious if that's done on a quarterly level, annual basis, and the tracking. I did a basic some research on the website and could not find anything, so I'll be reaching out about that. But I believe that quarterly benchmarks or annual benchmarks could be important for members to know where we are heading in that direction and push y'all to make sure that we are meeting those targets, because a lot of times targets are created and with well intentions, and without the monitoring and evaluation, they can be missed. I also want to reiterate the importance of battery storage as technology continues to advance. I know there's a process getting best storage in La Plata County, and I'm curious of the megawatt capacity on that, what makes it a best storage system, and if there's ways to do centralized community-based battery storage that is economically efficient as things progress. And I also want to say thank you for making incentives available to electrify. I think beyond just greenhouse gas emissions, as we can incentivize our community to move away from induction top fuel sources, gas heating, and using traditional combustion engine cars, moving towards EVs. Those are ways that LPEA can support our community to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. So I appreciate all of your openness, and thank you all for doing all of this while keeping our rates low. Hope you have a great meeting. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rogers. Graham, do you see anybody else?
Next in the queue, I have Anna Siegel.
Hi,
Miss Siegel?
can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Cool. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Anna Siegel, and I am a District 3 member as well. This is my first LPA board meeting, so apologies if this question has been asked previously. But to reiterate, what Brian was just saying, I'm here to inquire about the greenhouse gas reduction goal listed on your strategic plan. And just want to again reiterate the gratitude Brian expressed on setting that goal and having that target to work towards. But I also would love to understand more about how that process is tracked and enforced. I'd love to see some sort of public dashboard, an annual report, a regular agenda item where members can see the year after year progress towards that goal, ideally month after month if possible. And then a specific question with that is, what happens if LPEA falls behind the pace proposed for this goal? Is there a defined trigger or benchmark that requires the board to report corrective action to members, or that kind of, puts a pause on the process and allows opportunity to reevaluate? So thank you again for setting those goals and for all the work that you guys do, and for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Siegel. Next in the queue.
I currently don't have anyone else in the queue.
Okay.
Nope,
Go.
I have Werner Heiber.
Okay, Mr. Heiber.
All right, my name is Werner Heiber. I live in District 3, and I have talked in the past about the affordability is an issue in our region for many people. And I talked about the benefit of not raising taxes at the rates, which actually left not passed on the tri-state increase, which left over $4 million in our community. And I think that's really a remarkable amount, because how many $4 million economic development grants do we get? Yet this is available to everybody, all of your members. And this brings me to other benefit, the benefits of electrification, which are EVs. We have a RAV4 plug-in hybrid. I just got to the 10,000 mile level, and I use 9 gallons of gas. So when I compare this to cars that are driven, so many people drive 20, 25 miles one way, 50 miles a day to work. And if they use a truck that uses 15 gallons, a gallon for 15 miles and for a gallon of gas, or 20 miles for a gallon. That amounts to 3,000. For example, the 15 miles per gallon is 667 gallons or per year, or $3,000. With 20 miles per gallon, it is, I have to look at the numbers again. I think it's around $2,200. So these are actual amounts that residents pay, and affordability with an EV, people have an opportunity to save that. For my electricity for the 10,000 miles, I spend about $300. And when you think that how many people drive into work, if EVs would be available, and I know you don't have that opportunity as LPA, but EVs would be available, how much money people would leave in the local community, also, which actually would have available for their families to spend. So again, electrification has real benefits for every member. And this is an item that really needs to be stressed because many people are challenged uh, by their expenses of today's life. So that's really my comment, and keep going with electricity. Let people know the benefits that can be had from electrification. And I thank you for all the efforts you're doing. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Iberg. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
I'm not currently seeing anyone.
Okay. Going once, going twice, and public comment period is closed. Just to recap some of the things that I heard, there's a desire by a member to return or to have a question and answer period, and to have directors really consider what's best for the members with that policy. There's an appreciation for carbon goals, but also a desire for more monitoring and reporting, as well as continuing electrification and battery storage objectives. Then there was a discussion a little bit about the savings that went into our community from our tri-state exit, and kind of compared that with the reduction in fuel cost of having a hybrid and how much money that could stay in the community if people weren't spending so much money on gas. Okay, that completes that portion of our meeting, the public comment portion. Now let's keep moving ahead. That takes us to the consent agenda. I'll open the floor for a motion.
So moved by Kohler.
Second by Ted.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion about the consent agenda?
Director Wheeler has his hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
You're on mute, Tim.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a question on the write-offs. I just had a quick question. We can take that offline if you want to finish the motion, or maybe answer it right now.
Let's go ahead and try to answer it.
Yeah, it's just very large this month. Lots and lots of large numbers there, and it seems out of the ordinary, and I was just curious if there was some sort of reason for that.
Should we maybe move that to executive session? And because I imagine, that's something, go ahead, Chris, if you want to weigh in here on if that's something you can respond to.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to ask Monica for detail on that. I think if folks want to pull that off the consent agenda, just take a closer look at it and give Monica a moment to to take a look at those numbers. Monica, do you have some information you can provide on that would be for public session?
I'm reaching out. I'm phoning a friend real quick, and so I should be able to get back to Tim's question momentarily.
And just for process, so long as we're talking, Tim's question is about the general total amount, which I think is fine, so long as we avoid talking about individual members or individual accounts.
Okay, thank you for that guidance. I'll go ahead and accept an amendment to the motion if you'd like to make it, Tim, and we can give Monica some time to answer that question. We can move forward with the rest of the agenda.
Yeah. I'm just asking it to be pulled, I guess. So
Yeah, that would be right. So we'll pull monthly write-offs and proceed with the remainder of the consent agenda.
Okay, do we need a second for that amendment? Okay.
No, it doesn't need to be seconded. Any director can pull any item off the consent agenda.
Okay. Any further discussion about the consent agenda? Okay, so the motion is that the consent agenda to pass, other than what Tim has asked to be pulled, which we will discuss when Monica has that information. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. And then we'll go ahead and just move on to the dashboard, and then Monica, we can just circle back with you after that. Chris, you ready for that?
Yeah, you bet. Thanks very much, Madam President, and great to be with everybody for our July meeting. We've got some dashboard updates that I'm pleased to share on behalf of the entire staff. Let's go ahead and move into our KPI chart. A couple things to mention here. The top of the page still looking pretty good. It looks like we didn't get the looks like we continue to see great performance on our safety and lost time incidents. Those are all exactly where we would like them to be here at the midpoint of the year at 0, and working hard to make sure that that's the case throughout all of 2026. On critical uptime, again, above our benchmark. SAIDI and SAFE, as you can see in the appendix, we did drop a little bit from our previous performance because of some of the outages. We'll be able to talk about that here in a couple of slides. Jerry had mentioned that as well in his opening remarks, and have a few additional bits of information to share about some of our outages that were related to our fire settings. And I want to be clear, we didn't have any PSPS events, continue to have 0 PSPS events for 2026, but we do have some of our fire settings that I'll talk about in regards to some of the outages south of Pagosa Springs. To finish off this chart, though, Energizing Tomorrow continue to make great progress on our BE sales and member installed batteries, just shy of those monthly benchmarks that we set for ourselves. So kind of right in line with our targets, but slightly under them. And you can see that chart in the appendix as well. And we've had a couple of great events this month, reaching out with contractors on continuing the pace of installation of these types of equipment in with our members. So continuing to see good progress there, but just slightly under our monthly target. On empowering community, you can see there very active June. You'll see the detail on that in a couple of slides, and again, very high levels of program participation. So those are tracking just above our target. So good news on that front. And then as we look at creating member value, the operating margin negative 0.6 this month. I want to emphasize that that is actually better than our budgeted target, and does not include any of the money that the board set aside on the rate stabilization fund. So that is a decision that we decided to wait until later in the year to decide how much to apply. But want to clearly report out that we are at negative margins for the month of June, before the application of the rate stabilization fund. So that's at negative 0.6, so almost at break even or 0, but just slightly in the negative column. The good news to report, though, is that our cash reserves and days of cash on hand are now above our benchmarks and our targets. We were just slightly below last month, but now at 91. and 36 on those indicators. So continuing to have a lot of sharp focus on cash management. A big thank you to Monica and the whole team. And as Roy gets up to speed as our new CFO, continue to manage that carefully. Of course, hitting those targets means that we don't have too much or too little cash, neither of which is the right way to go, because don't want to have too much interest expense and keep that as low as possible. So managing that cash continues to be a point of focus for the team. You can also see our MDSC and debt as a percent of equity right in line with our budget and projections, and within scope of our targets. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. A few things I wanted to highlight on this page. First and foremost, the wildfire mitigation piece. We talked about this a little bit. The enhanced power safety settings. Of course, the most extreme of those is the PSPS. Again, we haven't used that at all across the system in 2026, but we have had a number of red flag days, low humidity, very high winds in some cases, where we did put in place the enhanced power safety settings. And we had 18 of our 30 days had one set, these settings in some part of our system. It's not system wide. We do it with a lot of granularity. But at some point in 18 of 30 days, we used these settings. And as Jerry mentioned in his opening remarks, we were able to prevent what could have been 5 ignitions because of those high winds. There were several days where south of Pagosa in particular, we had 60+ mile-an-hour winds. We had trees that were falling into our lines in several different cases. And with those enhanced power safety settings, that immediately causes the system to trip or to shut down and prevents ignitions of that dry material. And so really feel like it's always a balancing act of how sensitive are the settings compared to our, of course, our target of having 24/7 reliability, but balancing those two things out, we really feel like we're dialing this into the right level. And some very clear case studies here, or examples of how those system settings have helped us prevent any ignitions. And the good news is, of course, the crews were very responsive, got on that right away. There were some lengthy outages, but we got everybody back in power within 24 hours, and in most cases within 5 or 6. And some of the furthest reaches of our system, it took a little bit longer. But I think overall, really demonstrating the importance of these enhanced power safety settings and the ability to keep our members safe. So that was something I really wanted to highlight in this month's dashboard. We continue to really improve our system based on this feedback loop. And I think this also goes to the top of the second column. This is a really important item. We had a chance to meet with the community leaders and officials in Archuleta County and talked about how we have immediately moved forward with a Viper installation to further break down our system into smaller zones that will continue to help us shorten any possible outages in the future. So you can see there on the second column, design, program, and prepared the new Viper to be installed. That was installed just a few days ago off the Highway 84 South circuit south of Pagosa Springs. So that's in place and will continue to help us improve reliability while also maintaining high safety. You can see also that second or third item on the second column, installed the new relays at the Piedra substation, and we were able to use those to very quickly locate faults within 2.5% of actual locations. So within a few hundred feet, we can find the problem, identify it, isolate it quickly, and again, trying to significantly reduce any restoration time that we might have because of safety situations. The last thing I want to mention on this page is on the bottom of the first column, which is completed the bidding process and selected a contractor for the construction of the Trujillo substation, which will begin in earnest in late July. So we're just getting ready to start some of the initial site work to get that substation in place. A wonderful job by the team working through all those steps. And we've got actually a related item on the agenda today that we'll get to related to Trujillo, but really proud to get that kicked off and add another substation to serve Archuleta County. And the final thing on this page is at the bottom of the second column, which is some highlights around how we're using AI to make the team more efficient, and that we'll see here in the next slide, but used AI to render engineering drawings to satisfy requirements for permitting, something that used to be a fairly lengthy process, a lot of time and effort into those drawings, and using AI to rapidly speed that process. And so with that in mind, let's go to the next slide where we provide kind of a visual representation of what that looks like. On the left, you'll see a hand drawing done by Derek from our team, where he was working on the guy guard assembly for a particular location, able to take those rough sketches and quickly turn them into compliant engineering documents. And so you can see how we just in a few steps and what takes less than an hour to go from rough sketch to final engineering document. And this is one example of how Derek is using the technology to rapidly speed up the drawings that we have to submit when we do these types of construction projects. I thought the board would appreciate kind of seeing one of the ways that we're applying this technology and saving our staff, what will be hundreds of hours over the year to do this type of work, and therefore more time left over for other important tasks for each of the teams. And I thought this was a great kind of visual representation, one of the many ways that we're using AI in our operations to become more efficient. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. The Energizing Tomorrow. Really the big thing wanted to mention here is, the solar and storage expansion continues. We've had some great interactions with our installers and contractors in the service territory to make things as easy as possible for our members to move forward with projects. Also on the large scale side, we've received the Sunnyside tracker equipment before the July 2nd deadline. And I want to make sure the board knows that that guarantees that we have safe harbored our investment tax credit for the project. So met that minimum bar. We'll make sure we get that benefit for our members. Drastically lowers the overall cost of the project. And so we're ready to go with that tracker equipment, and we can continue to do the construction. Therefore, get the ITC on the full project and deliver what will be 30% savings minimum for our members with the cost of that electricity as it's delivered. The final thing to mention here is fiber communications to our Vallecito dam location for metering and system protection. As you know, we've got about a 6 megawatt contract with the dam for hydropower, and now we've got full fiber communications to that site, so we can do high fidelity, real time monitoring of the meter and system protection as we take that power from the Vallecito dam. So some great progress in June on that front. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next slide on the empowering community. You can see here, very active month of June, a lot of great events going on. We tried to break these up into easy to digest categories, business events and outreach. We've had some great student events as well, supporting local students and science and engineering students in the state, including some of our homegrown talent from Fort Lewis College included in that. I had several engagements in the month of June. You can see some of those where I was representing LPEA and our members at several different types of events, both in the service territory and in the Western Slope. And the one I really wanted to call out was the key account engagements at the top of the second column. We had about a half-day session with the Southern Ute Tribe, the Growth Fund, as well as the tribal government, talking about the public safety power management steps that we take. Big thank you to Emily in particular for getting that all set up, and Jerry for his presentation to the group, answered dozens of questions, made some new connections, found out that they have additional weather data that they're willing to share with us from a weather station that the tribe owns and runs. And so that will improve our modeling even further with that additional data. So a really positive meeting, made sure we identified any blind spots and filled in any gaps with the tribe. And so feeling like we were really heading in the right direction with communicating and making sure we're keeping all of our members safe, including our close partnerships with the Southern Ute Nation. You can also see there the local economic development continuing to work closely with Energy Office and FORCOR, and making sure we can get as much of that HERE program money to La Plata and Archuleta counties before that program expires basically at the end of the summer. So working quickly to keep that advantage in place for our members. All right, let's go on to the next slide. A little bit of Addition, as I mentioned in the June meeting, we're preparing a dashboard to help the board understand our digital engagement. That was something that was requested. So this slide's got a lot of information on it, but let me pull out a few of the highlights to make sure the board has a good sense of what they're seeing on the page here. We took an approach of kind of developing 4 different categories. So website, emails, LinkedIn, and our Meta platforms. So that would be Facebook and Instagram in particular. And looking at how we're engaging with our members and how we're tracking that on kind of a quarter by quarter basis. So what you're seeing on the page here is the first half of 2026. So Q1 and Q2, and then comparing it to the second half of 2025. So it's 2 6-month periods where we can look at things going up, going down, and changes across these different metrics that we're tracking. The big one on the website is that we get a lot of interaction with our website, particularly as members go and check on our outage map. So that's one of the kind of highest use things on our website. And so if we've got a month where outages go up for whatever reason, we definitely see a bump in website traffic. But you can see there, unique visitors pretty flat. Page views went up. We think because of the page views on our outage map. The engagement session, pretty normal levels there, duration slightly up. But those are a few of the things that we're tracking on the website. The other thing I wanted to call out was on the email side, some really positive progress over the first 6 months of 2026. Our open rate, very positive, and I'll show you how that metric compares to industry averages in a second. You can see our net subscribers went up pretty significantly. We'll continue to track that for the board so you can see how our members are engaging. I think our outreach around things like our fire settings and wanting to have clear lines of communication with the members, that helped and got a lot of new subscribers who signed up through that mechanism. And then you can see on things like LinkedIn and Meta, there are a number of views and engagement continue to track in a positive direction. We're getting, I think, better and richer content on both of those platforms in the first half of 2026. And you can see some of the positive results from that. And to point out that, we're just on the Meta platforms, we're over 1 million views over the first half of the year. So a lot of different touch points, meeting members where they're at. We have different members that use different methods, different platforms, and we're really trying to make sure we're active in all of those places to get our communication out to our members. On the right-hand side of the page, I wanted to provide a little bit of a glossary for folks that are less familiar with these types of metrics. You can see, what do they mean, and you can see also some rates compared to the rest of industry, or in general, how do these platforms typically perform, which is a nice segue into the next page, which is a way that we've come up with. A big thanks to Monica and Laura for helping to create this graph. But you can see kind of 3 different areas and how we track compared to industry and general averages for these different types of things. And you can see on the email, we are well above industry averages, almost double what they typically do. I'm not sure we'll ever get to 100%, but I'm very happy with this engagement on our emails at 56%, well above the co-op and utility average. And you can see in general, that's typically less than 20%. So that's good news. And then on LinkedIn and Meta, you can see the industry and global averages there. Again, we're tracking at levels well above those averages and really trying to get high quality content to drive that engagement. So these are good leading indicators for us that we're heading in the right direction. It's a job that is never done, as all the board members know. But I wanted to share this out and give some additional information for the board to get a baseline of, okay, here's what we have going on. Here are some changes compared to the second half of 2025, and we'll continue to track this quarter by quarter and bring this back to the board for those updates, and of course to answer any questions or get suggestions on other areas that we should be putting more effort. So very pleased to be able to bring this to the board, and a big thank you to the team for developing these 2 slides. With that, let's go ahead and go on to the final slide for this part of the presentation, then I look forward to questions and comments. On creating member value, wanted to update this power cost stability. We did a calculation in June, taking into account the new information that we got about transmission costs. And right now we're tracking about 12% lower than our March 2026 if we include all of the new information on transmission costs. So again, it's still a very positive story. I think we had talked earlier in April and May. We thought initially that it was going to be about 20+% lower, but after we got the updated information on transmission costs, we're at 12% lower compared to March 2026. So it's still very positive news, but taking into account that information, that number is at -12 or 12% savings compared to our previous wholesale arrangements that included the transmission costs. The final thing I want to mention here is I've been appointed to the governor's statewide permitting reform committee. I accepted the appointment really with a lot of focus on about half of the work of this committee is on how to improve transmission siting in the state of Colorado, which I think has a lot of value for our members, especially with the transmission projects that we're evaluating right now and how to get those permitted, both from the Durango area down into the Farmington area, which of course would be about 50% in Colorado, and then also evaluating projects that would go north of Durango toward DMEA's territory. So that's a new development and wanted to share that with the board. Really pleased to be a part of that group. It's an area that I've worked on for more than a decade and really glad to represent LPEA's members on that particular body. So with that, Madam President, that finishes my presentation and look forward to questions.
Any questions for Chris? Go ahead, Kohler.
Yeah, on the weather stations that you're using and the additional ones, are you getting pretty good, accurate information that's really helping out with the decisions on your settings?
Yeah, Kohler, really appreciate that question. And I mentioned, we have, in previous months, I mentioned we have 10 weather stations that we get our direct feeds from. And then as we found out from the Southern Ute Nation, they have an additional 11th weather station near Ignacio that we're able now to start that connection process to get that data. And I think this has been a real game changer for us because we're bringing in those 10, soon to be 11 weather stations better than we've ever had before. And being able to bring that information in real time into an analytics engine that's powered by different AI tools to then serve up a dashboard of recommendations to our dispatch, basically minute by minute, hour by hour. Hey, conditions are changing. We may need to change the settings on the system. That's the kind of more rapid or higher fidelity information that those weather stations are giving us. And that led directly to more sensitive settings as the wind speeds picked up, particularly in southern Archuleta County in those instances we had in June. And we were able to update the settings in a timely way. And we think, a lot of evidence to indicate that we prevented ignitions as a result. So I think, from raw data from the weather stations all the way through to system settings and real world outcomes and results, I think 2026 has been a real upgrade for LPEA on this front, and a big shout out goes to the entire engineering and operations team, Dan, Jerry, Derek, the dispatch folks, Ryan, all heavily engaged in getting these updates, and of course to our incredible IT department led by Drew to bring all these pieces together. So I really appreciate the question, and hopefully that gives you a sense of how we're using that weather data.
It does. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, a couple questions, kind of following up on Kohler's question. And maybe this is for Jerry, but on the settings, I'm assuming that there are some areas of the county that have stronger winds than are there other areas of the county. So are there separate settings for each kind of segment of the system?
Yeah, Jerry, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, there are, and what we're seeing from the recommendations with our third party is the timestamps have been super helpful. So what we're seeing is these weather patterns moving through the system, and so we'll enact the settings according to the timestamp recommendations from the third party, and so we're not setting the entire system up at once. And so they're enacting at certain times and then being released at certain times, and it's all dependent on how that weather pattern is moving through the system.
And a weather pattern, is that LPEA wide, or is that for, southern Archuleta County and northern La Plata County?
It's for our entire system.
The
Yep.
entire system. Okay. And I guess my question was, I'm wondering, where there are canyons and things, we know that there's more wind in certain areas than others. Will there be an ability to get more granular with that wind? Those wind settings at all? Any idea?
Yep, we are actually in the process right now of doing a study for 4 additional weather stations to keep breaking down our system into more granularity. And we are trying to find the most ideal places within the system where we don't already have weather stations to put these real-time weather stations.
Okay, great. Again, another great example of that, how much we pay attention to safety. The other question relating to the digital format, do we have any information on paperless billing? I don't know if this would apply here, but is paperless billing, do we continue to see any increase in that? And is there any possibility of maybe, I don't know, would it be worth it to add it to that digital dashboard?
Oh, yeah. Joe, thanks for that question. I don't know, Monica, do you have that at hand? We may have to get back to you on that one.
I may have to get back to you on that one. But
Okay.
I believe we are tracking that information.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
have
we
it
definitely-
readily available.
Yeah, definitely have that for you, Joe, but
Yeah, that's fine.
appreciate the suggestion that might be something we want on the dashboard, but I'll be happy to follow up with you.
Yeah, I just find the Smart Hub app really helpful. And then the last question, Chris, for you on this committee that you're on with the governor now, is there any sort of timeline on there's a lot of news stories about transmission placement and stuff. Is there any timeline that you've set up? Or I know it's early in process, but just wondering.
Yeah, I mean, this is set up really as kind of a 6-month sprint at the end of the governor's term. As you know, Governor Polis is term limited, so he's really looking for suggestions on any administrative steps that the state government can take to help smooth the permitting process across a number of different areas. But at the top of that list are transmission projects as a way to really unlock a lot of economic growth and investment in the state. And so that's really one of a very short list of topics that we're trying to take on over the summer and early fall that could lead to administrative action before his term ends. So this is very much a 6-month sprint type of engagement, and it's been great to represent the members in that forum.
Great, thank you.
Hey, Kirsten.
Yeah, a few things. One, concerning the wind. I live south on 84, and that wind has really been whipping through here, and it's just scary, that scary dry wind. And near me, we have a bunch of cottonwoods, and when those cottonwoods come down, they are like thunder, just amazing. Fortunately, none of them down here by me are near poles. I have a question on the engagement, the digital engagement. And it's about the subscribing and unsubscribing on emails. So I get the unsubscribing. You get an email and you say, I don't want to hear from you anymore. I don't know how the subscribers get gained. Can somebody explain that to me?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've in our outreach in several different areas, we've asked people to sign up. And so things that go out on LinkedIn and Meta and our website all have links that make it very easy for our for our members to sign up to receive our emails and opt into that system. This was a particularly strong push in the last few months because of the fire season. We want to make sure we could reach people directly, and so we really made that ask. And so I wanted to share the numbers of that response. But that's typically how those subscribers are gained.
Okay, so those are people who actively said, I want it. It's not that we got their email addresses and we sent the first one out as here's your email, and then they have a chance to unsubscribe. This is people actively subscribing? I
Yeah,
believe it's okay.
that's my understanding. That's right.
Okay, cool. And then my other questions are on the financial stuff, and these are some questions I asked back in June. And it's just because I'm trying to get back in June, yeah. Still trying to get my head around the new world we're in. And so it's about the regulatory, let me find my notes here. It's about the regulatory asset. So it's on page 85 of 125. That was for April, but then we also saw it for May and for June. Just trying to understand the patronage capital change, the regulatory asset change, and the other deferred debits change, because those were the three big things that change on the balance sheet. And I know they're intertwined, and I just need an explanation of it. I'm fine if we do this explanation later. I just want to get that question out there. If somebody can explain it to me now so we can all hear it, that would be fabulous. If not, if we can share it with everybody after the fact, I'd appreciate that.
All right. Monica, do you want to share anything now and then perhaps some more follow-up with details?
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely talk to that. So thank you, Kirsten. So with that transition that happened in April, we used all of our tri-state patronage to offset our final payment. So that decreased our investment in patronage. And then we had to record that transaction of the termination payment. And it was broken out kind of into two different tranches. And so we have in the regulatory asset, that's the portion that's attributed to the contract termination. And so that's being amortized over the 30 years to match the loan term.
Okay.
And then in the other deferred debts, that's the portion that's broken out related to the transmission credit. And so that is being amortized over the 40 years.
Transmission credit, 4 years. Okay. And please excuse me when I ask this again next month, because I look at this and I'm continually struggling with it, but I'll look back at my notes next time and we're good to go. Thank you so much for that, Monica. I appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, excuse me, thank you. On the delivering safety, reliability, and excellence slide, under reliability, it says crews change 20 reject poles. And I just wondered if that includes poles that were changed as part of Make Ready or not.
Jerry, do you have that information?
The rejects are they're tracked separately from all of these Make Ready projects. In total, year to date, we're around 300 poles total changed. And that is including the Make Ready work. It is incredible how we're hardening our system with this additional work going on, because on average, that's our total for an entire year, is around 300 poles, and that's including all of our capital works and rejects. So to already be at that goal halfway through the year, there's a lot of great work going on.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. So these 20 poles were based upon evaluation on the electrical system, not the Make Ready of broadband or other entities using our poles. Just to confirm, that's the understanding. And then I also, I guess, ask, so that leaves 280 poles that were potentially, or big number of poles that were changed as a result of Make Ready work. And I wonder, to what extent did we have to pay for those poles versus those pole exchanges versus the ISPs that are making these attachments?
So these are all of the Make Ready work is being paid for by the fiber companies. And all we're doing, we approve the contractors that they hire before they are allowed to work on our system. And we look mainly at their safety record. And once we approve their safety record and their quality of work, we give the okay to the fiber companies. They hire them, and they are fronting the money for all of this make-ready work.
So appreciate that. So then we get a new pole as part of this, say, and that pole becomes part of our asset base. And at essentially no cost to the members, we get whatever the life of that pole is, 20 years or something out of it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Do we, maybe longer? Chris, I see your finger. So we've increased our asset base. We've helped our customers or members potentially get high-speed broadband, and it's an investment made by outside entities that directly affect all of the members, whether they get the high-speed broadband or not. Is that a good summary?
Yes, absolutely. This is a complete win-win for LPEA and the membership.
So yeah, that was part of our broadband goal, was to try and find broadband wins for our members. I just want to make sure we understand in this instance how that's happening for our members, whether they get broadband or not. That's remarkable. It would be great at some point to understand the investment level that's been made there. That helped, as you put it, harden our system. So I would look forward to that maybe in the FAQ or something at some point. Thank you very much, Jerry.
Yeah.
And Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Okay, any other questions on the dashboard? Any other comments? I have one about the Community Power Battery Program, and I was looking specifically on the installed distributed battery capacity. I was wondering if you had a number. I know I think it said it in wattage, but actual number of batteries we would need to get this program integrated, and where are we?
Yeah, Dan, do you have information on that at hand?
Yeah, Nicole, were you asking like how many batteries on that chart in the appendix, or whatever that is? So you can count on there being 10, 11 kilowatt hours per battery. So move the decimal point over by one. That's pretty close to the number of batteries that have gotten deployed out there. And those are simply under a pre-programmed time to charge, time to discharge type of strategy at this point. We've talked about the DERMS package that we're getting in, and that's probably going to be the next evolution of this program that comes around, that instead of just having static windows, it's more on a controllable feature. So we're working towards that effort and hopefully have something at least in the pilot phase by the end of the year.
Okay, so where we're at now is that you get the rebate if you pre-program to LPA specifics. You're saying we're about to be where we can maybe actually change those in real time to what the system needs.
And there's going to be only so many people that may want to go on to this new program. You know, they may be happy with the rebate they had and it's over and done with, but anything new coming on will be under the parameters of a direct control format.
Okay, because what I'm trying to understand is what is your line of sight to aggregation of home batteries for actual use of the co-op in, in a VPP kind of way?
Right. And we have yet to do a forecast on what that adoption rate might be under that new parameters. But we have a good idea of how many batteries are going in each year, and we can assume a certain adoption rate on that, and it'll be a very similar path to what we're seeing adoption currently. And are you looking for megawatts in the end? Is that?
No, I'm kind of a little bit about, what is
Yeah.
I am trying to understand when is this going to be a reality? What steps need to be taken for that being a reality?
I mean, this is going to be a reality coming soon, but you have to understand too that these batteries in homes are a 2 hour type battery. And so we may have, say, 10 megawatts of battery under control that is equivalent to a 2 megawatt power plant. So there's going to be some factor in there that we have to play with. So it's a piece of the puzzle. It's not going to be our whole all the capacity needs that we need by any means, but it's going to be certainly a contributing factor to it. And we'll have to build the program parameters, flush that out, figure out the adoption rates, observe some trends, and then we'll be able to forecast that out. But it's not we were thinking we need 40, 50 megawatts of battery capacity on our system. Maybe this behind the meter portion of that, might hopefully be 10% of that. But there's definitely going to be the need for centralized substation level battery capacity.
Yeah, certainly. I never thought of it as an either or. I thought they'd both be working.
Yeah.
And, I'm just curious about a program where, we're actually paying members for the discharge of batteries during peak. That's still the goal.
Yes, that's right. And yeah, we're just trying to carefully craft that and find out what, how much is available at the time we need it and those types of things and how long it can stave off things. So we're working through that.
Cool. I'm not hearing anything committal about, I think this will be online at the beginning of next year.
We will have it available. I mean, but it's going to grow over time. It's going to continue to grow and grow and grow. So, how many, I mean, if we can get another 50 batteries on over the next year, that's going to be a success.
Okay, because you now are making it sound like you're saying members could opt into this program now?
Not now.
Yeah, I didn't
We
think
we
so.
don't have the package quite yet, but we will be. What we're trying to do is find some people that already have batteries that are willing to pilot, um, drive that program for a few months, and then make it, learn from that, make that available then into this year, early next.
Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead, Kohler.
Yeah, on page 3, and it's 22 and 125 and onboard, under safety priorities, it talks about performed an ARC demo and electric safety for Empire Electric. I thought that was pretty interesting that we're doing that for Empire. I guess that's their first step at becoming a national leader. Is that something, are they missing training over there, or do we just have a superior training that they requested?
Yeah, so my former serviceman and myself, we constructed our current ARC demo trailer quite a few years ago, and it is by far better than most co-ops have. And so Empire was hosting their internal safety day, and they knew that we had this trailer, and so they asked if we could send a crew over to give a good ARC demo. And so we obliged. We were happy to do it, and they were super grateful. And now they're looking into building their own. But in the meantime, they would like some training on how to put on an ARC demo. So they're going to send some crews over here. We're going to train them up, show them how we constructed the trailer, and hopefully they can build their own.
Great. Sounds like a good program. Good cooperation. Thank you.
Hey, any more questions for the dashboard? Seeing none, let's go on to the regional update. Back to you, Chris.
All right, thanks very much. Yeah, we continue to live in and learn in this new world we're in inside of SPP. As I mentioned, we got updated information on transmission costs and how those are calculated. As the FAC is very well aware, we are in a situation where the settlement period within SPP is longer than we had previously. It's 120 days, and so kind of each month we get more final information on a previous month. So that's one of the new facets of being inside of the regional grid. So I think we're keeping the FAQ updated. That then translates into the materials the board receives shortly after that. and we've proposed essentially a month lag in some of our financial reporting as a result. And so this is pretty common in other parts of the industry, but appreciate Monica and now Roy's work on developing that process. But one of the things we're finding out in our first few months inside of SPP is that the ability to finalize a month's books or the information coming in on the invoicing side is just taking longer than it did when we had a single supplier of all those services. So appreciate the FAC's ability to kind of listen and learn with us as we digest this new process. I think, as we get into 6-7 months down the road, we're going to have very complete information. It's just there's going to be some lag to how that plays out and kind of the immediate month after we're trying to close the books. And that has essentially become impossible to close the books as fast as we did with a single supplier. So just want to make sure the board is aware of that. We'll be tracking that information closely and updating it, getting it to the FAC as quick as we can. But we do have some new lags in the system that we didn't have before. So that's the focus of my update for this month. And again, a big thank you to the FAC for learning along with us as we take this in.
Any questions about that update? Go ahead, Kohler.
This one's just kind of and I don't know. Is the Southwest Power Pool that was just created, is it independent from Southwest Power Pool on the east side? Or is it combined so we can help each other out?
Yeah, Kohler, great question. So they are fully integrated. They are one thing. Now, there are bottlenecks in the system. As you probably remember, there are AC/DC interties between the east and the west. So it's not as seamless as it might be if we were in the same interconnect. But there is only one SPP operation, and we are part of that larger organization. There is now a lot of back and forth across the east and west interconnects that has been enhanced by the expansion of SPP into Colorado and our zone, which includes parts of Nebraska and Wyoming. But yeah, there's one SPP, so it's not a separate entity.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the regional update? All right, seeing none, I'm going to propose a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 10:25, and then we will resume the agenda with the attorney update of FERC and related actions. All right, it is 10:25. The meeting is back in session, and we are currently under agenda item 5, attorney update of FERC and related actions. I will hand that over to our general counsel, Graham.
Hey, Nicole, just quickly before Graham starts, I did hear from Monica that she's ready to answer the question that came up earlier. Is that all right if we do that before this item?
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. So when we take a look at disconnects for the prior month, and then we do the monthly write-offs, and it was realized in June that there was a handful of 2025 accounts that were not addressed. And so that was cleaned up in this month's process. And so that's the reason for the increased dollar and the number of accounts. So you'll notice in that disconnect date column that instead of them all being for May, that there's a handful of November, December, and then some January through April accounts. So
okay. Does that answer your question, Tim?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a new trend. It is cleanup from a prior year, it sounds like.
correct. Yep. It was just kind of we have a new staff member doing the write-offs, and so there was just just an update in processes and getting some cleaned up write-offs that weren't addressed in prior months.
All right. Thank you very much. Answered my question. Good that it's not a trend.
Okay, do we need,
Sorry, I just like completely lost connection. I don't know if everybody else dropped off, but
I
my
think
Zoom
you
just
froze.
reconnected.
Did you?
okay, Ted, is this about the same issue?
I was just going to make a motion to approve that section of the consent board item to approve the monthly write-off list.
Okay, I accept the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will open the floor for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? All right, let's keep on moving then. So now back to, well, thank you, Monica, for that follow-up, and Tim for your close examination of these numbers. Let's go now to Graham and the attorney update of FERC and related actions.
Thank you, Nicole. Just to refresh the board's recollection, we do have two ongoing FERC matters. One is related to tri-state transmission rate. The other is related to the placement of the Stiegel DC tie for cost recovery purposes. Both of those are in settlement discussions right now, currently informal settlement discussions, which appear to me to be productive. Both will go to official settlement conferences in early August. And then we also have an outstanding 10th Circuit matter that has had its briefing schedule set, and it appears that the case will be fully briefed by the end of the year. Tim.
I thought we were finished with the 10th Circuit.
So there was a outstanding issue on the calculation of long-term debt, and that was not appealed timely enough to be consolidated into the initial 10th Circuit case that we heard. So because the FERC filing, because the initial FERC ruling that was appealed to the 10th Circuit required multiple compliance filings by Tri-State. I think that somewhere in the order of 7 or 8 different compliance filings. Each compliance filing would result in a determination by FERC whether or not that calculation was sufficient, and that ultimately led to a subsequent kind of clarification order by FERC on how some long-term debt is handled, and that is what's under appeal to the 10th Circuit now. It was not ruled on timely enough to be consolidated into the initial appeal on lost revenues versus balance sheet approach. So the lost revenues versus balance sheet approach question has been settled. This is a question on some specific long-term debt calculations.
Okay, thank you.
It's like the never-ending story. Any other questions in public session about Graham's update? Okay, so seeing none, I will open the floor for a motion to go into executive session for an attorney update of FERC and related actions, power supply progress, transmission asset discussion, storage strategy, a real estate update, and an employee matter.
So move.
Got a motion?
Second.
There's in a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will see you on the other side. That we're coming out of executive session, and we are now looking at possible action, starting with item 7A, which is the real estate resolution. I'll open the floor for a motion on that.
Do we want to recap from Dusty first?
Oh, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I wasn't sure what order we wanted to go in, so I can do the recap now if that's sound good. Okay. From 10:35 to 10:47, General Counsel Smith provided a brief update related to our strategy on FERC matters and the 10th Circuit case. As a legal strategy, these discussions are confidential attorney-client communications. For power supply, our discussion interval was from 10:48 to 11:12. CEO Hansen provided a timeline to outline when formal votes would be expected. Deadlines were communicated and the importance of staying within this time schedule. Directors asked questions to clarify what information is confidential. Discussion was held around strategy. These discussions are confidential because they are subject to non-disclosure agreements. For the transmission asset, we discussed from 11:13 to 11:30, and CEO Hansen provided updates on transmission assets. The directors asked questions and held some discussion around strategy. These discussions are confidential because they're subject to non-disclosure agreements. For our storage strategy, we had a discussion interval from 11:31 to 11:46. CEO Hansen provided a brief update on our storage strategy and details of specific projects. Directors held discussion and asked clarifying questions. These discussions are confidential because they involve regulatory strategy with a legal component. For our real estate update, we had a discussion from 11:49 to 12:07, and General Counsel Smith provided details on right-of-way negotiations. The board gathered information to make an informed vote in open session. As legal strategy, these discussions are confidential attorney-client communications. And then from 12:08 to 1:13 p.m., we met with special counsel as a board to discuss a personnel matter.
Okay, thank you for that update, Dusty.
Yep.
Now returning to the post-executive session agenda, and we are on item 7A. It's real estate. We've got a resolution. I'm opening the floor now for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-10, a resolution of necessity.
Okay, I got a motion
Second.
and a second. Let's go into discussion. Okay. Seeing none, I will open the floor for a vote. All in favor of the resolution 2026-10 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, looks like that. Greg, we can't see your hand. And I know I said say aye, but if you could either, yeah, there you go. Do you vote in affirmative or were you waiting? Greg?
I vote in the affirmative, sorry.
That's okay. Janelle, do you have everything you need? Did you see everyone?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know if I asked any opposed. Yes. No
Or
abstentions.
abstention.
Okay. Yep. Any abstentions? Okay. So now let's move on to the next agenda item. And that is 7B, the board resolution authorizing an investigation committee. I will open the floor for a motion.
I move that we pass resolution 2026-11, the resolution authorizing an investigation committee as presented in the executive session.
Got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, got a second. Any discussion about the resolution? All in favor signify by raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
And can we just be clear with Greg on your vote, as there was a little lag in your camera coming on?
Affirmative.
Thank you. Is that everything you need, Janelle, to count votes?
Yes.
Okay. On to the next item of business. Now we're going on to the board action agenda. We are about almost 30 minutes over our scheduled time. And just a heads up, I have been told by multiple people they have to leave at 3. So that's where it stands, but we still have an hour and 20 minutes of doing business. Committee on Policies, I don't see anything on board. Did the Secretary Lewandowski want to give an update on the COP?
Nothing to report. I'm going to ask members if they'll meet a week earlier on August, but I can handle that with an email.
Great. Any questions for Joe? Right.
One real quick question. Sorry, I didn't get my hand raised in time. Joe, do you have a rough outline of what policies you plan to cover over a certain time frame? That was just a quick question I had.
Yeah. I had a discussion with Graham, and he can weigh in if he wants. We have, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head. What there are 3 that we have to consider within probably the next few months. And then we're back to our 3-year schedule. So we're really pretty well caught up.
Okay.
Do you agree, Graham?
Yeah, policy 104 and policy 119 will be the first things that we address. Those are the last 2 remaining policies from our sort of 3-year review all policies cycle. Then we might pick up some administrative matters with the electric service regulations. Staff has been reviewing that to see if there are some process improvement areas that they could bring forward to the board on that. And then we'll likely, as Joe said, start the review cycle over again.
Okay, thanks for that update. Good work getting back on schedule. Our next item is the Finance and Audit Committee. I will pass the gavel over to Treasurer Wheeler.
Thank you, Nicole. So yeah, the report is in your packet. I'll just highlight maybe one thing, and CEO Hansen already mentioned that the schedule to finalize financial reports has changed subsequent to Tri-State exit and joining SPP, as they take a long time to settle. And as a result, we had a discussion around changing the format and the timing of the financial reports. We engaged in a discussion. We did not have a recommendation as yet on that. And we'll take that up again in August. So if you have, opinion or concern or want to learn more about it, feel free to reach out to me. And but I just point out that the financial reports that we look at in the monthly board meetings are formatted for the purpose of the board. They're not statutory. Those are different ones like 990s and 7A that our lender and our tax returns, those are different. So, we have some flexibility in how we want to see these reports and what they look like. So if you have concern or interest in that, feel free to come in August or let me know ahead of time. The other thing that came out of the FAC meeting is a recommendation by the board, by the FAC, that the board adopt Resolution 2026-09. It's a CFC credit line of credit agreement authorization. That was something which CFC did not include in a set of documents that we or in the authorization that we gave to have these lines of credits. That documentation, this particular piece of documentation, wasn't in it previously. So it's kind of just catching us up, dotting an I and crossing a T. It doesn't change in any way. It's not new. It doesn't change in any way the other aspect of the line of credit that we have, we'd split that from 25 million to a 15 million and a 10. This is a documentation for the 10. So that's a recommendation coming out of the committee. Doesn't need a second. So I'll open it up for any discussion on that resolution. Seeing none, I would ask for a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Okay, so that passes accordingly. And that concludes my report, unless anyone has questions. Seeing none on the report, back to you, Madam President.
Okay, great. Thank you for that report. We are now moving to item C under board action agenda, and that is verifying or certifying a voting delegate and alternate for the 2026 NRECA Region 7 business meeting. I'd like for Chris just to give a little update on the work that he's doing right now with the bylaw amendment and why, because you're going to be attending and advocating for that.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. So CREA has appointed me as the Colorado representative to the NRECA Resolutions Committee. And we had a meeting in June to look at all of the draft resolutions. Those were all accepted, and then they go to the regional meeting for discussion before final approval. We brought forward a resolution to delete an existing resolution that was basically calling for the elimination of the transmission investment program at WAPA. As we discussed earlier in the meeting, we are looking at our transmission assets and options for potential upgrades. And along with other Colorado co-ops, believe the TIP program at WAPA could be an important part of the capital stack of those projects. And so we asked NRECA to please repeal that call to eliminate the program, which the committee agreed to. And so now we'll take that to the resolutions committee at the regional meeting and ask for further approval from the region, eventually to have it pulled out of the resolutions document at the national meeting. So that's the step-by-step process, and it means that need to attend the regional meeting to finish that work.
And I assume that means we also need an additional delegate. Like, since you're going to be presenting, could you also be the delegate that LPEA?
Yeah, if the board would like me to cast a vote in that role, I'd be happy to do it. I could do both at the same time, so that is an option. Or if the board wants to elect a delegate, that's also an option.
Okay, I will. Let's open the floor for discussion. I see Joe with your hand up.
Yeah, we've done that before, I think with Jessica a couple of times, so I would endorse that.
Go ahead, Kirsten.
Yeah, I'd like to see a director go, and actually I'd like to see either a president or vice president go kind of as part of our national presence effort. And I'd mentioned this to both the president and vice president, and I think Dusty, you said that would work for you. So I would like you to consider going, and I'd like us to consider having a director there, especially somebody, an officer there.
Why don't you nominate someone then, Kirsten?
I thought we were just at the discussion point. There was a discussion of let's not send anybody, and I'm saying we should. I'd be more than happy to nominate. I nominate Dusty to be our voting representative at the Salt Lake City Region 7 NRCA meeting. And if I don't have those words quite right, I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared for a nomination.
Well, I apologize for the ambiguity in the directing this part of the meeting then, because I was kind of still having it be a discussion on if we want to send someone, because we have started with that discussion.
Right.
But we have now a nomination on the floor. Dusty, do you accept?
Yeah, I'll accept the nomination.
Okay. Now do I ask for a second, or do I ask for other nominations?
I think you go ahead and ask for other nominations, and so it would just be nomination and acceptance, or self-nomination, which is presumed accepted.
Okay. I see Jen, your hand.
I'm just, Kirsten, I want to understand a little bit more. I mean, I'm very familiar with NRECA and just wondering if you could explain the value that you see in having more of a presence there, given that our CEO will be there and we've sounds like elected our previous CEO did it. Yeah.
Right. So in the same way at LPEA, there's two very important parts to our organization. There's the operations part and there's the board part. So we're going to have our operations part represented there, and I believe we should have a board represented there also. So that's what it is. It's we're frequently trying to separate the operations from the governance, and governance is a large piece of what we're going to be doing at NRCA, especially as the voting delegate. So that's where I see a director is a good thing. It's also a great opportunity for networking with other folks. So it's good for LPEA in that it gets people out there, gets people learning what else is going on in other places. So it's a great opportunity. Chris is going to be there. He'll be learning that stuff. He already knows a lot of that stuff because he's been doing a lot of this over the past year. I think it's just important to expand that. And I find great value in any of the regional or the national things myself. And there's some training opportunities. They always make sure they have lots of classes on, usually on the weekend before that. So if somebody needs to catch up on some classes, it's a great opportunity for that. Even if you don't want to go as a representative, you might choose this to spend your training money on, your skills development money on, too. Does that cover what you need, Jen?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll leave it there. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, John.
I would suggest that the current workload of this board and the pending workload of this board, given what's in the near-term horizon, that we let Chris go alone. We have to be efficient with our time. There's a ton of work that we all have to do. There's going to be a ton of background reading that all of us have to do. And I think, well, I definitely appreciate Kirsten's point broadly. I think at this moment in time, we need to keep our powder dry. And I would encourage us not to advance one additional person and let Chris just do what he needs to do up there and do it efficiently. It's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, just as a FYI, that would be the time that we would normally have the member engagement committee, for which Dusty is the chair. So that would mean changing that date or something like that. I also somewhat agree that having the CEO already there, very familiar with the issue and so forth, seems serendipitous, and I'm not sure we necessarily need another person there. So I would nominate Chris as our delegate, yeah, as a motion. So we would have two to choose from.
Chris, do you accept that nomination?
Be happy to.
Okay. Any other comments? I'd like to.
President Pitcher, sorry, just a quick procedural thing. I did get a text from Joe. His computer had a problem. He's re-logging on here in 1 second. He just wanted to make sure people knew he was coming right back.
Okay, well, I will take a second then and take my president hat off and just weigh as a fellow director. I think I don't feel super strongly about this, but I do feel like, we asked Chris to represent us quite a lot out in the wider world, and I have the utmost confidence that he's doing it well. But I also think it's good for the board to actually be there and to see how he's representing us. And I also think Dusty, as a new director, already in a leadership position, I think making more contacts in the cooperative world is valuable. The fact that you have an interest in going to this makes me want to support you, because I think that's all the difference. I don't think perfunctory directors going to these events get much out of it, but if you have an actual interest to go there and to spend your time and treasure wisely on behalf of LPA, I have faith that you can do it. To Tim's point, do you think you could run the meeting? I mean, you actually are going to have way better service in Salt Lake City than in Arbalese.
Right? Yeah. That was kind of my first thought was, oh, I'd actually be able to run it better than having to go into the library. But yeah, that it is. I don't feel that, again, I feel Chris would do a perfectly adequate job, and I don't see any reason for me to go other than for my own personal reasons. I would enjoy going. I feel like I would get something out of it on the training side, and it would be a good opportunity too for me to get just more time and exposure with Chris and what he's been doing and what all he does for the co-op. So from my perspective, those are the reasons I'm accepted the nomination.
Yeah, I mean, right there, the value of being able to spend a couple days with Chris is, that could be time well spent.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got 2 nominations on the floor. Anybody else? Okay, so we're going to start then with all in favor of sending Dusty as the NRECA representative. Raise your hand. Okay.
I'm counting 9 in favor. Janelle, is that the same count you have?
Yes, I got 9.
All in favor of sending Chris?
Well, I mean,
1, 2.
Okay. And then is there 1 abstention then?
Joe looks like he's froze. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That's
Oh, yeah.
probably Joe.
Not just thinking.
it's cold at Joe's place. He's frozen.
Yeah.
That was a generous laugh, Dusty, for that one.
I have been dying of heat down here in our place. It's horrible. 111 degrees the other day.
Oh my gosh.
The grass is just trying to die.
Okay, I'm not sure how we proceed with this, Graham.
Well, you have a majority vote.
You do. I mean, we do have a decision. I can reach out to Joe to try and record his vote.
Great.
We can probably proceed anyway.
Okay, so that is how we'll follow up on that, and that is going to take us to our next item of business, which is the Roundup Foundation Director appointment. We've got the memo here. We're looking to have a special appointment to fill District 3 following the election of our own Jen Jenkins. So the following nominee is submitted, Carolyn Hagan. I will open the floor for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
As a District 3 director, and just comment that all 3 District 3 directors agreed on putting Carolyn forward for this position. So my motion is that the board appoint Carolyn Hagan as the new District 3 representative to the Roundup board.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion about that appointment? Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I just I don't have any opinion on this candidate one way or another, but I'm being asked to vote on it, and this is the first I heard this name. And I'm just, maybe it's a point of process. It's like, could we have understood who the person was and some background and why they selected this person from the district?
Yeah.
I'm happy to answer that. I think this is a unique situation. So normally our District 3 would have approved and it would have gone through, I think, without a vote from us. And no, well, I'll just explain what I know about this woman. And it's ironic that Joe's not able. Is he back on? Because this is his gal. There were a number of great nominees. I actually had recommended a different one, and Joe just knows this person really well and has for a long time, and she's a longtime citizen that cares deeply about our nonprofit culture. And I actually ended up voting for her as well because of that. So I think she's pretty great. We can get a bio to you if you'd like. But essentially we just all agreed because Joe knows her so well. Does that help, Tim?
Yeah, that's helpful. And
Ted might have more. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, thanks. And Tim, you've brought this up before, and I fully respect where your question comes from. And I think it's largely a process question. And I'm not sure I'm really able to answer that part of it. We've done this many times, and it seems to go quite similarly to this. And I think actually this might be one of the better versions of our process. But I'll echo basically everything that Jen just said. Although I know Carolyn quite well, and I think she'll be a great candidate. The other thing to point out here is we did have, I won't get the number exactly right, but 5 or 6 candidates for this position. So I think it's it's not like we had one person and had no choice here. We got to read a lot of bios from a lot of interested people. Carolyn certainly rose to the top of that list, and I would just say it's a good vote of confidence for what our board roundup directors are faced with going forward, that at least there's good interest from the community in supporting that organization. So maybe that's not in line, Tim, with your question. But the best answer I have to your question is this is the process that we've been following. We followed it again. Maybe there's room for improvement, but this is where we are now.
yeah,
When I have a vague recollection of actually seeing a letter of interest of a previous appointment. Does anyone else remember that?
Well, maybe for your district, right? I mean, yeah. I mean, that might be where this confusion is, or not. I don't know if it's confusion, but process question. So we get, as District 3 directors, we get to vet whoever applies, right? And staff deals with putting out the ask and collecting the interested parties and collecting their documentation, and then the district directors get to see those.
yes. My understanding of the process is that each district directors make a recommendation for the board to vote on, but which, I think that process could use some improvement. Maybe, I'm not sure where that rests, is that Graham, is that committee and policies? I'm not sure where that rests, but that's a little different than the question that I had, which is I'm voting on someone I have no data on whatsoever. Maybe you do, and I appreciate your recommendation, but it's still my responsibility as a director to know what the heck I'm voting on, right? And there's a missing piece. If the board is being asked to vote and the person being recommended isn't even known to the rest of the board, I think that's a piece that we could easily correct by saying you have to, I mean, shouldn't this person's bio have been in the packet, for example? So anyway, be nice to correct that going forward.
Seems like a very reasonable procedural fix. Maybe Graham, you can follow up with Carrie and we can talk about that being the standard operating procedure moving forward. Okay, great. All right. So any further discussion? I believe, we've got the motion, we've got the second. Further discussion about this nomination for appointment. Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the nomination, signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay. Moving on, now we're going to go to the reports. The July attorney report. Graham, I will pass that to you.
Thank you. I would just refer to my written report and take whatever questions the board might have.
Okay, it looks like you're off the hot seat. We will move on to the next report, which is Roundup. We've got a new report from Greg Barber. In the in the packet, it looks like. Um, Greg, do you want to present anything?
Just to the board can read the report, but for my first report, it was a great first meeting. We got to hear 4 stakeholder presentations from nonprofits and very deserving nonprofits, and we approved all of them, 2 community impact grants and 1 educational grant. And I also included the May, which were the most recent financials for the foundation, if their board would like to peruse those. But great meeting. Look forward to more in the future, and I'll field any questions that you might have.
Excellent report.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's move on now to CREA.
Me.
Go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. Yeah, so CREA in the packet is my report and the minutes from the June 26th meeting. It's my first meeting, obviously, somewhat anticlimactic because it was a virtual meeting, relatively short agenda. The only action taken at the meeting was to accept the results of the 2025 audit. It was an unqualified opinion, which, as we all know, is the clean bill of health. So we took that action. The only other thing of note, and please feel free to read the report, but I'll only point out this cautionary note about it sort of came out in the news that you probably all remember the fires on Maui, and that the members of that co-op actually sued and won, and it was a derivative settlement. So the members actually sued the board members, which is, as you all know and understand, is quite rare and only happens in cases where there's the sort of provable lack of fiduciary responsibility. So I'll just loop this back to the conversations we had earlier in the day, especially Jerry's safety report and Chris's comments about how the actions we're taking to prevent fire are enabled and being effective. And I think that is a great indication of the responsibility and the knowledge that our board has about the actions that are being taken. Personally feel like it puts us in a good position. I don't think we're in the scary situation that particular utility was in. Something to always be aware of, cautionary tale. I feel like we're in a good space as it pertains to that. My only other comment before I entertain questions would be I'm trying to follow a little bit process-wise and procedural-wise the same things that Kirsten was doing before. So if you want less than I'm showing you in the board report, I'll just give you the report and not the minutes. If you want anything more, it's in the same Google Drive, the board Google Drive under CREA with the same sort of naming parameters that Kirsten was using before. So if there's more that you want to dig up, that's where you find it. If you're having any trouble, reach out to me. I'll tap the brakes and entertain questions. Brad, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Ted, for your report. Under the legislative and advocacy update, bullet point 2, CREA's strategy of engaging in primary elections is paying off. I guess I wasn't really clear on how it was paying off. Their endorsement, I wasn't sure why they were doing endorsements before or during primaries, and I guess I just was wondering how that helps pay, how that brings dividends.
Yeah, I think it's a super fair and interesting question, Brad. I think the success rate of those endorsements wasn't great. So there were cases where the care board came up with endorsements, and those people didn't win the elections. But I think I'll refer to the comment that it's paying dividends. what I understand that to mean is that that the legislative engagement is enhanced by that participation. So win or lose, you're playing the game, and if you're playing the game, you're in the game and you get to have those conversations. So I think the net value there, and this is across the board, not just with CARE and with CREA. If you're in the game, you get to have the conversations, and those conversations are a net gain. So hopefully that explains it a little bit. Tap on that again if you want more information.
Yeah, I will. I noticed that the backside of that was the CARE committee had productive conversations about wildfire liability, and obviously that's a really big issue, and that's something that we're going to have to be acutely aware of and proactive about. I guess my concern is just how that is paying off, or what is that engagement doing there. So that's my thought.
Yeah, appreciate that. And I didn't really comment on that, but that was, we only took that one action on the audit report, and I provided that cautionary note from Hawaiian Electric. But really, most of the discussion at the CREA virtual meeting was about wildfire mitigation liability legislation, and there are really two main directions on that right now, and one is legislative, and that kind of goes to partly to the CARE board. Who are we as CREA members promoting, who hopefully will advocate for the things that are best for the co-ops when it comes to wildfire legislation. So how can the state help the co-ops when it comes to protection against essentially legal ramifications, lawsuits when it comes to forest fires? Some of it is I guess potentially preemptive. Is there state money available to do a better job with wildfire mitigation? So there's the legislative piece, and I think we've heard about this from Chris previously. There's kind of the insurance piece, and that's not legislative related. That's really CREA related, and CREA is kind of taking up the topic of, can we as Colorado co-ops self-insure in some way, and they're calling it parametric insurance, and they're evaluating, how does that work? What's the cost? What's the benefit? We've heard Chris say in the past that it's very expensive, and I'm sure that Chris will continue to be involved, as will the other general managers and CEOs of the CREA co-ops in discussing, is this the right way? Is this a benefit that CREA can provide to the co-ops? And then, of course, it wouldn't be mandated. It would be, take it or leave it from each individual co-op, whether you wanted to be part of that program. So that's the two-pronged approach that I see happening through CREA right now. I guess there is one other thing out there, and this came up from Kirsten a while back as a request from CRA staff is, if you can help us build a list of local interested parties. We do need grassroots help. We do need some grassroots advocacy to have any hope of getting any legislation passed that would be helpful to rural electric co-ops. I think we all know how the Colorado legislature kind of revolves a bit around the urban districts. There's a lot of votes in the urban districts, less votes in the rural districts. So we need to have a louder voice, and hopefully CREA and the voice that CREA has through the CARE board can have an impact on that. And maybe, Chris, if you want to add anything to that, like the grassroots campaign, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, no, Ted, I think you hit the nail on the head. The prospect of wildfire legislation this year, it's a tough climb. There's a lot of forces acting against it. And so we really need to have a strong coalition, and part of that is grassroots outreach in our territory. And CREA is asking all of the co-ops to prepare for that. So that's really the idea behind that.
Thanks, Chris. And back to you, Brad.
Yeah, I guess I appreciate that. The frustrating thing is I haven't seen much help at all from government. They came out with the WUI code, and all that's going to do is increase building costs by about 25% in the state. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not seeing much help at all for co-ops in the form of relief. So I think this really needs further conversation and push to our electeds as to what we can do for relief for co-ops. Like I said, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the WUI code, but it's gonna just really, really hurt home pricing.
Appreciate that, Brad. And you know, if you want me to hear other things about that, feel free to reach out.
Thanks.
Yeah, John Purser.
Yeah, two things. The liability of the Hawaiian directors, I know, was limited, but I'd really like to see us continue to message in What's Up monthly during the fire season about the public safety power shutoff and also the parameters that we have for shutting off power in hazardous situations. I think people are pretty understanding, but the messaging and keeping that messaging going, I think, is real important. Where Jerry commented on the 5 fires averted, I mean, we should definitely be messaging that. So I'd love to see all that in What's Up, and make members aware of the position that directors are in with the liability. And I think they understand anyway, but it's good messaging. Number two, the in terms of advocating for a specific bill, can you tell us the bill number of the Roberts bill? I'd really like to have a look and be able to reference it directly.
I don't have that information, John. I'm not.
But I might be able to help with that one, Ted.
Oh, sure. If you can do it in the moment.
Yeah, just to say that Senator Roberts is interested in carrying legislation, but it's still being drafted and wouldn't be introduced until January at the earliest.
Okay, so we don't have a specific bill yet. Do we have a draft of it?
Yes.
Oh, good. Is that someplace we can see?
The answer is yes, but I don't think yet. They're still
okay.
working through that draft at the state level.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. It makes me feel better about not knowing the number of the bill. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Over to you, Kirsten.
Well, legislation is out of session, so there won't be any numbers for a while. The I'm sorry, not Chris, Ruth. So she's with Mountain View and this buddy to boss thing, and it was impetused by a safety issue, which I thought was interesting. So was it something about a supervisor not willing to step up, or was too much of a buddy? What can you tell more about the safety issue?
I cannot.
Okay. I can ask Ruth. I just thought it was interesting to.
Yeah, feel free to do that, or if you want me to loop back on that.
Go ahead. Actually, we probably all would be interested in that because I'm not there. There's several programs out there of going from being a line worker to being a supervisor. Buddy to boss is a new one to me. I'd be interested in that, and I'm really interested in this tie to when it said it was the impetus. I was like, oh, something happened, and we can always learn when something happens. Hopefully, to somebody else.
I'll make sure that gets included in next month's report, unless you need it earlier.
I don't need it earlier. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have.
Okay. Excellent report. And now we're going to go to Western United. There was no meeting last month. Do you have anything, Greg, to report on that?
Not yet. So just getting set up as a new director there, and we'll be attending the August meeting. So hopefully I have a report in September.
Okay. That brings us to the end of our agenda. I'll open up the floor for any director comments. Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you. At the end of our report is a contractor report. I won't go into details. It's apparently somewhat confidential, but what I noticed is that the work that the broadband, ISPs are doing on, replacing poles and make ready work, I guess would be the term, right? They're using contractors, and they did some work in our neighborhood, and one of the contractors said that they were contracted to LPEA. So I'm just curious why this, if that's the case, why that wouldn't show up on the report. Because anyway, there doesn't seem to be anything accounting for that. So are they not contracted to LPEA? I guess is the question.
We did not hire them. We qualify them from a safety perspective, but they do not have a contract with us.
I see. Okay. So they just have to meet our requirements, and then they could operate relatively independently then at that point?
They're in communications with our dispatch. They're working on our system. We're communicating, but so we're 100% integrated, just not writing a check.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other comments at the end of the meeting?
President Pitcher, if I may, I missed one thing at the front of the meeting, which is a formal and proper introduction of our new CFO. And apologies to Roy that I didn't do that at the start of the meeting, but glad to be able to wrap things up. Very pleased to share publicly and share directly with the board when Roy started on the 7th. That he is our new CFO, and very excited for him to get started and working with the finance team and getting up to speed on all the different parts of our operations. And he joins at a perfect time because we have just started the budget cycle. As we're going department by department, it'd be a great chance for him to really get into the weeds and understand all the detail involved in our financial planning and analysis, which is one of the big strengths that Roy brings to this work. And let me turn it over to Roy to say hello and provide a little bit of an introduction about himself.
No, thanks, Chris. Like you said, 2 weeks in, it was great to participate in this conversation. Like a lot of you, I'm fully drinking from the fire hose and learning a lot every single day, but couldn't be more excited to be here. I spent my entire career in financial roles, leadership roles across multiple different industries, was most recently with Remax for the last 8 years, and with a company called IHS that was then merged with Market, so IHS Market, and is now S&P Global. That's where I crossed paths with Chris, and always enjoyed working with him on, back at that point, was a lot of energy deals in the corp dev world. So I have been able to get my bearings a bit in 2 weeks. I know I still have a lot to learn, but we've got a good team here, and I'm excited to move forward. So thanks for the opportunity, and like I said, great to engage with this group.
Thank you, Chris, for making that introduction, and Roy for telling us a little bit about yourself. Look forward to meeting you in person, either at the August COW or the September board meeting.
Welcome.
Thank you for being part of the team.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Kirsten.
I've got one, Nicole. It's raining here.
Yay!
Yeah. It's
Don't know
pouring.
how.
It's thundering.
Okay, well, once again, to our line crews and all of our staff, all the work that it took during this kind of critical fire moment we've been in, thank you. I think that we have a good story to tell, and that work was instrumental in keeping our community safe, and while recognizing it can be devastating to be without power. So as leadership, that's a really difficult decision you have to make, but I feel confident that that we made the right choice, and I appreciate all the extra hours, how crucial everyone has been on this team. With that, I will adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Be safe.